Governor, it's an honor to have you in the Bronx. I know Buffalo's your first home, but please consider the Bronx your second home. First, it's an honor to be here with Ritchie Torres here at Lincoln. You know, Lincoln is the safety net of the Bronx. As Lincoln goes, so goes the Bronx. And I know every elected official is committed to the success of Lincoln. So, Christina, thank you for everything you do. Look, the presidency of Donald Trump represents the gravest threat to our democracy, our economy, and our social safety net. And now more than ever, every single one of us should stand with our governor in the fight against Donald Trump. Now is not the time for infighting. Now is the time for unity under the leadership of our Governor Kathy Hochul. And I'm here to repeat what the governor said. There is nothing beautiful about the so-called big, beautiful bill. In fact, the beauty of the big, beautiful bill is as fraudulent as Donald Trump himself. It is an assault on working people. It's going to cause 17 million Americans to lose health coverage, including more than 1 million here in New York. It will slash Medicaid by $1 billion, the largest health care cut in history. It will slash SNAP by $300 billion, the largest food assistance cut in history. It will raise the cost of electricity for American families and businesses, and it will add $4 trillion to our nation's debt. You know, here in the Bronx, we have people who live on $20 a day. And so Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are going to cut food, health care, and energy for those living on $20 a day in order to hand tax breaks to billionaires like Elon Musk, who has a net worth of $400 billion. And under Trump's legislation, and I'm not kidding, it is actually possible for a company like the Trump Corporation to buy a $400 million Qatari airplane, claim it as a business expense, and then completely write off the cost. So he's cutting health care and food, the essentials for working families, in order to subsidize luxury air travel for billionaires, for the top 1%. And it's often said that when America sneezes, the Bronx gets the flu. We are going to be hit the hardest by Donald Trump's savage cuts to food and health care. Right, 1/3 of the Bronx is enrolled in SNAP. And my congressional district, which is exclusively in the Bronx, has the highest rate of Medicaid enrollment in the country, 70%. In my district, more than 70% of children, more than 80% of nursing home residents, more than 90% of baby deliveries are covered by Medicaid. Medicaid is the air we breathe in the Bronx, and we will do everything we can to stand with Governor Hochul to defend it against Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump and his Republican co-conspirators here in New York and elsewhere would have you believe that a $1 trillion cut is all about removing fraud, waste, and abuse. Well, if that were remotely true, I have one question. Why would it be necessary for the congressional Republicans to set up a $50 billion stabilization fund for rural hospitals if it were all about fraud, waste, and abuse? The very existence of a stabilization fund is an admission that congressional Republicans are destabilizing our health care system. It's an admission that congressional Republicans are lying to the American people. And why is there only a $50 billion fund for rural hospitals? Why not for the hospitals here in the Bronx? Why not for Lincoln Hospital, which has the busiest single-site ER in New York City and the 3rd busiest in the United States? Why is the Bronx being left behind? You know, Donald Trump came here to the Bronx to campaign. He stood in Crotona Park, which is about 1.5 miles away, and he promised to champion working families. And instead, he has betrayed them. But thankfully, we have a governor who is willing and able and has the courage to hold Donald Trump accountable for his betrayal of working families. And so, Governor, I want you to know we stand with you. The Bronx stands with Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul stands with the Bronx. Now more than ever, we have to defend our democracy because everything is on the line. And if we do not fight for the health care needs of the Bronx, then no one else will. The burden is on our shoulders. God bless you. Thank you.
During a rally in the Bronx, Representative Ritchie Torres, Democrat, New York, tore into President Donald Trump and congressional Republicans over the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. He began by expressing his pride in welcoming Governor Kathy Hochul to the Bronx, emphasizing the critical role Lincoln Hospital plays as the safety net of the borough. Torres acknowledged that the success of Lincoln reflects the well-being of the Bronx, and noted that every elected official in the area is committed to ensuring its success. Torres then sharply criticized the Trump administration, declaring that the presidency of Donald Trump represents the gravest threat to democracy, the economy, and the social safety net. He called for unity under the leadership of Governor Hochul, stressing that now is not the time for infighting but for standing together against the harmful policies of the Trump administration. He specifically pointed to the Big Beautiful Bill, claiming that its promises were fraudulent and aimed to harm working families. The bill, Torres argued, would result in 17 million Americans losing their health coverage, including more than 1 million in New York. It also proposed slashing Medicaid by $1 billion, the largest healthcare cut in U.S. history. Alongside this, Torres highlighted a $300 billion cut to SNAP food assistance, which would be the largest food assistance reduction in history. Additionally, the bill would raise electricity costs for American families and businesses, while adding $4 trillion to the nation's debt. Torres further illustrated the harsh reality faced by many in the Bronx, where people live on as little as $20 a day. He denounced the Trump administration for planning to cut essential services like food, healthcare, and energy, all while offering tax breaks to billionaires like Elon Musk, whose net worth is $400 billion. The proposed tax cuts, he argued, would subsidize luxury air travel for the wealthy while working-class Americans would suffer the consequences. The Bronx, Torres pointed out, would be hit hardest by these cuts. He noted that 1/3 of the Bronx is enrolled in SNAP and that his congressional district has the highest Medicaid enrollment rate in the country, with 70% of its residents covered. In his district, more than 70% of children, 80% of nursing home residents, and 90% of baby deliveries are covered by Medicaid. Medicaid, he stressed, is a lifeline for the Bronx, and its potential cuts would devastate the community. In challenging the claims that the bill aimed to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse, Torres questioned the need for a $50 billion stabilization fund for rural hospitals. If the bill were truly about addressing fraud, he argued, there would be no need for such a fund. The very existence of the fund was an acknowledgement that congressional Republicans were destabilizing the healthcare system. Torres also pointed out that the Bronx, with its busy Lincoln Hospital, was being ignored in favor of rural areas receiving support for hospitals. He recalled Trump's campaign promises made in the Bronx, where he pledged to champion working families, only to betray them once in office. Torres commended Governor Hochul for her courage in holding Trump accountable for his betrayal of the people. He concluded by reiterating that the Bronx stands with Governor Hochul, who stands with the Bronx. He emphasized that now, more than ever, it is crucial to fight for health care and democracy, as the burden of these challenges rests squarely on the shoulders of the Bronx.